Hi class, this is your instructor Megan, and in this video I want to talk a little bit about the research assignment you're going to work on this week, because the research assignment is a lot more in depth than what it looks like on paper. So I want to sort of show you guys all an example and give you a way of approaching this research project that's going to allow you to be successful at it. So if you look at the assignment sheet for this week, what you're doing is you're selecting 10 sites that are similar to the kind of thing you want to make that you wrote about in your project proposal. And for each one, you're going to provide a brief site analysis. So you're going to explain the scope, audience, outcomes, and tactics of each of those websites. But the assignment is actually a lot more in-depth than that, because it doesn't start by finding 10 sites. You won't know what 10 sites to look at when you start this assignment. This assignment actually starts by trying to figure out what you want to know through this research. It's not enough to just answer the questions on the assignment sheet here. Instead, you have to start with questions that you need to know the answers to in order to move forward with your project. So ask yourself, what don't you know? That's where your questions come from. What do you need to know to be successful in creating this project that you don't know? This goes back to the Schwartz reading that we use a lot in the minor, where the author Schwartz describes knowledge in 3 categories: stuff you know you don't know, and stuff you don't know you don't know. And what we're trying to do this week through research is we're trying to build a bigger column of stuff we know we don't know, and then we're trying to understand the answers. We're trying to gain some knowledge on some of those things. So you're going to have to look deeper than just choosing. It's not just choose 10 sites and explain what they look like and how they work. It's a lot deeper than that. You're going to have to kind of look at your project description and understand what you need to know to make this project that you currently don't know. So what you're going to do this week is choose those 10 sites and study them, and then next week you're going to explain what you did at your first project meeting. So this week, I'm looking for you to kind of come up with the things you don't know category and look at sites that will help you fill in some of that information. And then next week, in the first project meeting, I'm looking for you to tell me your thought process on here. So I would suggest for your assignment this week, you go ahead and write, before you write about the 10 sites, go ahead and just make some bullet points of things you don't know that you want to know. Then select 10 sites that will help you answer those questions and get the information that you need. And then next week, you're going to explain that process to me. So as an example, let's look at this project description. A mobile app for the Bugs Outside the Box museum exhibit. It's a traveling exhibit that goes to different museums that educates visitors grades 3 through 6 about the role of insects in the ecosystem. So if this is my project description, I'm going to make some kind of mobile experience for Bugs Outside the Box museum exhibit that educates kids, grades 3 through 6, about the role of bugs in the ecosystem. There's some things I don't really know that I need to know to be successful here. For example, I need to know what successful digital experiences for museums do. What do they look like? If I only have this project description, I probably don't really have a lot of experience with these mobile museum things. And so you need to figure out, okay, I'm trying to make this thing, but what do they look like? What does a museum technology that works actually look like? I might also want to know what kind of activities are appropriate for kids in grades 3 through 6. I don't have kids, so I have no idea. I don't work with kids. So trying to figure out what someone in grades 3, 4, 5, and 6 should be able to do, I really don't know. My understanding of their level of, knowledge and understanding and what kind of activities they can do is really low. So I need to go out and I need to figure out my answer to that question. And then how do museum mobile experiences pair with physical museum environments? So I'm making an experience for an exhibit that is also physical. So what does that look like? Plenty of museums have exhibits that are physical that also have digital components, but I need to go out and study that and see what they look like. So asking these questions is going to direct me to 10 sites to look at. I might look at successful apps for museum exhibits. I might do some research, look around the internet, find some case studies of museum technologies that work, and then go get them and look at them and see what they look like and how they work. I might look at educational documents or experiences produced by museums. A lot of museums create educational materials for teachers, where they suggest to teachers what kind of activities different grade levels can do in their museum. So I would see if this Bugs Outside the Box group or one of the museums that it's been at maybe has some educational documents for teachers showing what kind of activities are appropriate for grades 3 through 6. I might look at apps that are directed toward kids 3 through 6 to try to understand what activities they use. You know, can a kid in the 4th grade do an analogy puzzle? I have no idea. Should they be doing crosswords? Should they be doing question and answers? Can they write essays? I don't know. So I should go find sites that are for kids that age that are educational in the sciences and try to understand what kind of activities they seem to be using. So this is how you're going to select your 10 sites. You're going to figure out what you need to know. You're going to figure out what sites are going to help you learn what you need to know. And then you're going to write down in your project this week, in your research section, what you learned from those apps. So some of your questions won't be answered by looking at sites that already exist. At the end of the week, after you've looked at sites, you may still have some questions. These are questions that are great for your paper, so don't get rid of them. Keep the questions, but you might think about them for your paper instead. So for example, in this project description of making a digital companion to a museum exhibit, one thing that I want to know is, how do people learn from museum technology? And I probably won't learn that just by looking at websites and mobile apps. I probably won't be able to figure that out just by looking at what other people have made. So that's a great question for my paper, and I can write an entire paper on theories of learning in multimedia museum technology. There's plenty of sources for me to be able to write an entire paper on this. So this week, my biggest piece of advice is start with the questions. What do you need to know? And then select your 10 sites based on sites you think will help you answer those questions. And anything that's left, consider those questions for your paper. And so next week when we meet, I want to hear from you, your thought process. What were your questions? Why did you choose the 10 sites? What did you learn from the 10 sites? What do you still need to know that you might look at in your paper? That's everything I wanted to cover this week. If you have any questions, as always, please feel free to contact me. You can contact me via email. I'm also in AJ389 almost every day this semester, so you can always, pop by if you're on campus. I look forward to seeing your research questions and seeing what sites you looked at and what you learned from them. So I will see you all next week in your week 3 meetings.